Hello learners, welcome back to the course on AI in Human Resource Management. Today we move to the second lecture of Module 10. We'll be looking into AI in compliance. Now this is one field which AI has, if I can use the word, gone into too much, that we see that there is a visible presence of AI in compliance. You look into any other domain specifically, be it recruitment, be it training, development, learning, be it even what we have discussed, something like employee benefits, compensation, or maybe aspects of employee development over the period. Whatever it is, the involvement of AI is bit latent. But in compliance, AI is visible, AI is present in a very holistic manner, and this is what we are going to discuss. We'll try to look into all possible dimensions of AI in compliance. We'll look into the robotic process automation, we'll look into the blockchain, we'll look into all possible technologies where AI is there in terms of compliance. I'm Dr. Abraham Sirlaisek. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now, when you look into the emerging trends of AI in HRM, this particular lecture will have its own importance because of the evolving nature that has been evident for some time now. Now, let's look into this AI-driven compliance in greater detail. When you look into AI-driven compliance, we have to first understand what exactly do we mean by compliance. Compliance here refers to an organization's adherence to laws, regulations and standards, and even ethical practices relevant to its operation. So many a time, most of the organizations, they tend to forget this ethical practices domain. They'll go for adherence to laws, regulations, policies, etc. They will not give the due importance to ethical practices. So when you look into compliance from this holistic angle, it encompasses a wide range of requirements, including data protection laws, financial regulations, health and safety standards, and even industry-specific guidelines. So please note, organizations must implement robust compliance frameworks to mitigate risks associated with non-compliance, which can lead to legal penalties or reputational damage and financial losses, as we have seen in the previous lecture too. So in highly regulated industries, let's take some example, something like finance or healthcare or telecommunications for that matter. Compliance requirements are stringent and multifaceted, there is no doubt about it. Now, financial institutions, for example, must comply with anti-money laundering AML regulations or KYC, know your customer regulations or laws, and various data protection standards, given the sensitivity of handling vast amounts of the client data. So many a time, most of the spammers or most of the scams do happen around the aspects that we have just discussed now. So it is prudent, it is just pragmatic from the organization's point of view that they should be actually looking into all these matters with greater concern. Now, when you look into the compliance, we have to, especially AI-driven compliance, will start from the scratch. We'll look into what are the limitations of the traditional compliance methods. There has to be some limitation. That's why we are concluding that AI facilitated compliance or AI enabled compliance is a better way. So let's look into the traditional compliance methods. Many a time, many traditional compliance tasks are still performed manually. It could be data entry, it could be document verification, it could be monitoring for policy adherence. So these manual tasks, if you ask me, are labor intensive. They are time consuming. They require dedicated teams to process large volumes, large chunks of information and data accurately. So manual processes are inherently prone to human error. We can safely conclude that. So when you are telling that they are inherently prone to human error, in compliance, Please note, even minor inaccuracies can lead to significant regulatory violations. It could result in fines, it could result in legal repercussions or reputational damage. So, see the contradictory nature of compliance here. When you go for traditional methods, it is prone to error, but there is no room for error, especially when you talk about compliance, because this can cause a lot of issues, not only fines but also even reputational damages. So, manual compliance process struggle to keep pace with the complex regulatory changes. That's another significant aspect, and it may at times overlook crucial information hidden within vast amounts of unstructured data, such as let's say regulatory documents or maybe news reports or legal updates, etc. Another limitation of the traditional compliance method, if you ask me, is definitely the high operational cost. Please note, traditional compliance operations often require substantial resources. Let's say from resources from staffing to data storage and processing capabilities, etc. So, the need for skilled compliance professionals combined with expensive software solutions for data analysis and reporting actually drives up the cost. So, maintaining a compliance department to meet stringent regulatory standards is costly for businesses, especially you're talking about, let's say, smaller organizations or those that operate typically in multiple jurisdictions with differing regulations. It can be a huge cost. It can be a very huge cost which might not be bearable for the organization. That is, or that would ineffectively lead to a limitation of actual compliance. So, many a time people would try to bypass, people will try to outweigh these regulatory mechanisms when they are especially spread across differing jurisdictions or multiple jurisdictions or differing regulations for that matter. Another significant limitation would be the essential scalability issue. What is the scalability? Scalability is another major challenge for traditional compliance method. As companies grow or expand into new regions, they must comply with additional, often region-specific regulations. Now, scaling compliance efforts to meet these new demands is challenging when we are using the conventional method. So, we talk about the traditional compliance. It is often unable to handle large volumes of data efficiently, making it difficult to expand compliance functions without significantly increasing the personnel and the financial resources. Now, let's look into the rising regulatory demands. Over the past decade, if you ask me, regulatory demands have intensified as governments and industry bodies introduce stricter regulations to protect consumer data, to prevent fraud and even enforce ethical business practices. So, when you look into the regulatory demands, especially the rising regulatory demands, there are certain aspects we have to discuss, and the first one would be data privacy law. Please note, the increase in global data privacy laws has placed new demands on organizations to safeguard the personal data. So, when you are looking into these laws, they impose strict requirements, be it data handling, be it data storage, be it processing of data, with penalties for non-compliance. So, this is what we understand with respect to data privacy laws. So, compliance with data privacy laws certainly requires robust data governance frameworks, transparent data practices, and prompt reporting of any data breaches. So, you talk about traditional compliance methods, they often struggle to track and manage these requirements in a real time, leaving organizations the vulnerable to regulatory penalties. So, when you look into the data privacy aspects, please note, you have to have transparent data practices. This is a must. You need to look into the compliance from these aspects, and this can come in only when there is transparency and strict clarity in data handling as well as storage and processing. So please note, you are seeing a combination of all these aspects when you're talking about essentially the data privacy law specifically. Now let's look into the sector specific regulations. When you are focusing yourself on the rising regulatory demands, certain industries like finance, like healthcare or telecommunications, they face heightened regulatory scrutiny, as I've already mentioned. So financial institutions, for example, they must comply to anti-money laundering, AML, or KYC, as we have seen, know your customer regulations to prevent the financial crimes. So these regulations typically require organizations to monitor activities, identify the potential violations, and report findings to regulatory authorities. So, with constant updates to regulations, compliance teams find it challenging to stay current, particularly in global organizations that must typically adhere to the regulations across multiple jurisdictions. Another significant aspect would be the global compliance requirements. Please note, as companies they expand globally, they encounter diverse regulatory environments that require the region specific compliance approaches. So the complexity of managing compliance across multiple region or multiple regions in general increases the risk of errors. It increases omissions. It increases the possibility of regulatory misinterpretation. So global companies need to maintain consistency in compliance across different jurisdictions, requiring compliance functions that can adapt to different regulatory standards without sacrificing the accuracy, without sacrificing the efficiency. So when you talk about global compliance, managing global compliance with these traditional methods, they often leads to inefficiencies as local offices, please note, operate independently, resulting in the siloed compliance efforts that lack cohesion and coordination across the organization. We have typically discussed about the siloed approach in the previous lecture itself. So please note, global compliance requirements also emerges to be a significant problem with respect to the traditional compliance method. Now, let's see the basic important aspect of today's lecture, which is how AI is addressing the compliance challenges. We have technically seen or looked into the compliance challenges. Now let's look into how AI is going to address this, or AI is in the process of addressing this. When you talk about artificial intelligence, AI's capabilities allow organizations to navigate regulatory complexities and achieve a proactive, streamlined, compliant function. So let's look into how we are getting this streamlined compliance function. Let's start with automating the repetitive tasks. When you're looking into AI-driven automation tools, like let's say the robotic process automation RPA, it can, as an example, let us take that. It can perform repetitive tasks like data entry, documentation, or routine monitoring significantly, reducing the time and resources spent on these processes. So RPA bots can actually automatically populate compliance reports and validate the transaction data, freeing up the compliance staff to focus on more complex tasks. So by handling repetitive tasks quickly and consistently, AI minimizes human error and allows compliance teams to operate more efficiently. So this is particularly valuable for large organizations where routine compliance tasks may take thousands of man hours to actually complete. So this is the benefit of having the RPA, robotic process automation, specific to different industries where data entry, documentation, routine monitoring are a regular task. Now let's look into how it increases the accuracy. We look into AI technologies such as machine learning. It analyzes large volumes of data. We have seen that with high precision, identifying patterns and detecting anomalies that might signal potential compliance issues is the key aspect. Let's take an example. Let's go with the financial services angle. Let's say ML models can analyze the transaction histories to identify activities that deviate from the typical patterns, helping organizations spot fraud or money laundering attempts in it's a real time. So NLP algorithms can analyze the unstructured data, be it the regulatory documents or the company emails, to extract relevant compliance information accurately and quickly. So this capability helps organizations stay updated on new regulatory requirements and ensure that policies reflect these changes typically. Now let's look into real-time compliance or monitoring for the proactive compliance specifically. Now, when you are looking into the real-time monitoring, please note, AI enables continuous real-time compliance monitoring. We do not have any doubt about it. Instead of periodic manual checks, AI systems can scan transactions, as we have seen just now. It can scan even the communications, it can monitor the communications and data exchanges continuously to flag potential non-compliance issues as they occur. So when you're looking into an AML compliance, AI-driven transaction monitoring system, they provide real-time alerts to suspicious activity, allowing compliance teams to act swiftly. So predictive analytics and anomaly detection in AI is helping organizations to anticipate risks before they materialize. So essentially transforming the compliance from a reactive function to majorly a proactive one. So this shift enables organizations categorically to preemptively address compliance issues, minimizing the risk of non-compliance penalties. Now let's look into the scalability and typically the adaptability to meet global regulatory demands. When you are looking into the scalability and the adaptability, please note that AI powered compliance solutions are inherently scalable. They are capable of handling increased data loads, and if you ask me, they are capable of adapting to different regulatory environments also without substantial increase in the operational cost. And that's the beauty of the whole AI powered compliance systems. Let's take an example. When organizations expand to new regions, they can quickly adapt their AI-driven compliance systems to local regulations, ensuring consistent compliance efforts across jurisdictions. So AI systems equipped with NLP can analyze regulatory documents from different countries and highlight the region-specific requirements, allowing global organizations to maintain a unified, coordinated compliance function that adheres to the local laws. Now let's look into the cost implications, the cost saving that we get as part of this real-time monitoring specifically and as a consequence of AI's impact on compliance. Now, when you're looking into automating labor-intensive compliance tasks and specifically enhancing efficiency, you see that AI reduces the need for extensive human resources, helping organizations cut compliance costs. So this cost effectiveness is particularly beneficial for smaller companies or those expanding their compliance function without significantly increasing their typical budget. So AI also allows compliance teams to focus on high value, strategic activities rather than routine data processing, optimizing the use of skilled compliance professionals and improving the overall productivity. Now, let's look into the key AI technologies driving compliance innovations, and we'll start with the machine learning in compliance. When you talk about ML, for pattern recognition and anomaly detection, ML enables systems to identify patterns in large data sets. We have touched upon this in the previous modules. We see that it makes it particularly useful for compliance tasks that involve monitoring and risk assessments. So, machine learning algorithms can analyze historical data to learn the patterns that typically indicate compliance or risk, and then use that knowledge to identify anomalies in new data. So, this functionality is especially valuable in industries like finance, where detecting fraudulent transactions and suspicious behaviors is is critical for compliance. Now let's look into the advantages and specifically the limitations. Let's start with the advantages. When you look into advantages, we cannot go ahead without discussing the efficiency. Please note, ML models process data at high speeds, handling tasks like transaction monitoring far faster than manual methods. There is also a possibility of improved accuracy. Over time, these machine learning algorithms improve as they learn from new data, increasing the accuracy of compliance monitoring and reducing the false positives. And if you look into the predictive capabilities, please note, machine learning can provide insights that help compliance teams predict potential risks before they occur. So, enabling a proactive approach to compliance. Now, let's look into the limitations. When you look into the limitations, of course, we have the data quality dependence. Please note, the machine learning models rely heavily on high quality data. So, when you talk about inaccurate or let's say incomplete data, it can lead to unreliable results. Now, we also have to look into the complexity and explainability. Complexity and explainability. Now, many ML models, especially the deep learning algorithms, they are black boxes, making it challenging to interpret their decision-making process altogether. So, this can be problematic in regulated environments where typically the transparency is required. So, when you look into the compliance, especially machine learning in compliance, pattern recognition happens to be one of the critical aspects. We have seen the advantages as well as the disadvantages of the same. That said, we also see that, if you look into the compliance and the use case of this in compliance, AML, we have discussed about this, that banks and financial institutions use this machine learning models to identify the transaction patterns indicative of money laundering. So, by analyzing the customer transactions in real time, these machine learning tools can flag suspicious activities, reducing typically the need for manual reviews. Another significant aspect would be the fraud detection. So, in addition to this anti-money laundering AML, machine learning is employed to detect fraud in insurance and e-commerce. So, it identifies patterns that deviate from expected behavior, such as high frequency claims or unusual purchase locations, etc. Now, we'll go into the NLP for a regulatory text analysis and policy monitoring. When you talk about the natural language processing in compliance, the role of NLP in compliance, we see that it allows AI to understand, to process and derive the insights from the human language. So, given the text-heavy nature of, let's say, regulatory documents, NLP is indispensable in compliance, helping to automate the reading, the interpreting of the data, and even summarizing the regulatory text. So, this capability is beneficial for organizations that need to monitor regulatory changes across the multiple jurisdictions if they are situated around or across the different continents or across the world. Now, when you look into this NLP, the role of NLP for regulatory text analysis and policy monitoring, you have certain inherent advantages like scalability. You talk about the NLP systems that can process large volumes of text data, making it easier for organizations to monitor regulations across countries and industries. There can be timely updates. You talk about continuous scanning, continuous scanning of news articles, of legal documents, of regulatory publications. NLP tools can alert compliance teams to new regulations, enabling timely responses. Another significant aspect could be the textual insights from the text analysis. You look into NLP, it enables the extraction of relevant insights, highlighting sections of regulatory text that pertain specifically to an organization's activity. Now, that said, there are some critical limitations. NLP models may struggle with interpreting the context or specialized legal terminologies, leading to potential misinterpretation. So you talk about, let's say, the data privacy risk. NLP systems that handle sensitive documents must be designed with data privacy in mind to avoid any sort of accidental breaches. We look into the use case, we see that regulatory change monitoring. Regulatory change monitoring, NLP driven tools analyze new laws, policy updates, or news releases, summarizing and tagging relevant changes for compliance teams. So, this is vital. Regulatory change monitoring is vital, specific to certain industries like healthcare, finance, where frequent regulatory updates are there, or updates actually demand the prompt responses. Another significant aspect could be, or best use case would be, the policy compliance check. Many a time, NLP can be used to compare the internal policies against the regulatory requirements, identifying gaps and helping organizations remain compliant. So, policy compliance check also can be a use case in terms of compliance. Now, let's look into the robotic process automation in compliance. Very quickly, robotic process automation, or RPA as we know now, uses software bots to automate repetitive, rule-based tasks, freeing compliance staff from mundane administrative work. So, RPA is particularly useful for tasks like data entry, something like form filling or report generation, or even document verification, which are critical to compliance but often consume valuable time. So this has a certain level of advantages as well as disadvantages. Let's look into the advantages part. Needless to say, it is cost effective. You look into RPA, the robotic process automation. RPA is generally affordable and easy to implement, allowing organizations to automate the compliance tasks without any extensive resources. Also, please note that it minimizes the human error. We are accepting AI in big time because we are looking for greater accuracy. So, we talk about the robotic process automation. The RPA bots follow strict rules, reducing the risk of errors in data entry and other repetitive tasks. We also have enhanced productivity. Please note, by automating time-consuming tasks, robotic process automation enables compliance professionals to focus on higher level decision making and risk assessment. We also do have certain limitations associated with the RPA. The first one would be obviously the limited adaptability. Please note that RPA operates based on predefined rules, making it certainly unsuitable for tasks that require adaptability or decision making beyond established guidelines. There are also certain maintenance needs. RPA workflows require regular updates to keep pace with the regulatory and system changes, creating additional requirements towards maintenance. And as we have mentioned, it is very difficult, especially if the proper maintenance is not taken care of. Now, when you look into the robotic process automation, the use case in compliance would be more interesting. You look into something like automated reporting. RPA bots can generate compliance report by gathering data from various systems, formatting it, and submitting it to regulatory bodies as required. Even there could be possibility of transaction monitoring. So many a time we see that in banking, RPA assists in monitoring transactions, automatically flagging any that exceed a preset threshold. So this ensures adherence to what we have seen as KYC or AML regulations. Now let's look into the computer vision in compliance. So computer vision enables machines to interpret and process visual information from images and videos. So in compliance, what happens is that the computer vision is useful in verifying documents, checking physical workplace conditions, and ensuring adherence to safety standards. So definitely it plays a vital role in industries that require identification, verification, or environmental monitoring as part of compliance. Let's look into the advantages and disadvantages specifically. You look into the speed and accuracy as one of the significant advantage. We understand that computer vision systems can process and verify visual data quickly and accurately. There is no doubt about it, reducing the need for manual inspections. We also have scalability in visual compliance checks. Organizations can use computer vision at scale to verify documents and monitor environments for compliance in real time. We also have enhanced security by automating the verification of all the sensitive documents. Let's say computer vision helps maintain security and integrity in compliance practices. That said, we also do have some of the critical limitations specific to computer vision. One is the image quality dependence. This is a significant negative aspect or limitation or disadvantage of computer vision. Poor image quality or lighting conditions can certainly impact the accuracy of computer vision algorithms, and needless to say, there are some privacy concerns also. When you typically use of the visual data in compliance must typically adhere to privacy regulations to avoid unauthorized data collection. So when you look into the typical use case in compliance, we see that document verification happens to be one of the important use case. Especially computer vision helps verifying documents like IDs, passports, and contracts in compliance with KYC regulations, reducing the time required for manual verification. There can be also workplace safety monitoring. Please note, in industries such as manufacturing or construction, computer vision systems monitor employee adherence to safety protocols such as wearing protective gear, ensuring compliance with health and safety regulations, etc. So these are some of the typical learnings that you need to have when you are discussing about the computer vision in compliance. Now let's look into another important AI aspect in terms of compliance, which is the involvement of blockchain in compliance. Blockchain technology provides a decentralized and tamper-proof ledger system. We know that, making it ideal for compliance scenarios requiring high levels of data integrity and transparency. So blockchain's immutability ensures that once the data is recorded, it cannot be altered, supporting regulatory requirements for secure record keeping and typically the traceability. So when you look into the blockchain in compliance, please note we have certain clear-cut advantages, including data integrity, including the transparency and traceability, and including efficient auditing. Let's look into data integrity. When blockchain's immutability provides an incorruptible audit trail, which is critical for compliance purpose, we do have the data integrity. When every transaction or data entry on a blockchain is time-stamped and traceable, it enables accurate and transparent record keeping. So we are looking into transparency and typically traceability. We look into blockchain, it streamlines the auditing process by providing a single source of truth, allowing auditors and regulatory bodies to verify records without extensive cross-reference. We are looking into efficient auditing then. So that said, it has certain limitations. It has complexity and cost considerations. Implementing blockchain solutions can be very complex. It can be very costly too, especially if you are talking about small organization. It takes away a large chunk of the resources. We have some regulatory hurdles also. As we discuss blockchain, we have to think about that too. See, as blockchain is relatively a new technology, regulations around its use in certain industries are typically still evolving, leading to uncertainty in some jurisdictions. So, we do not have a clear-cut idea or understanding about the regulations revolving around blockchain. The use case would be more interesting. When you look into blockchain use case in compliance, we see data provenance in supply chain. This supply chain happens to be, especially the data provenance in supply chain happens to be one of the best use cases in compliance with respect to blockchain. So blockchain is widely used in supply chain compliance, where it typically ensures that each product component meets regulatory requirements. So this is vital, this is critical for industries like pharmaceuticals and food, where compliance with safety standards is mandatory. There could be some secure financial records. So the security part is taken care of. You look into financial institutions, they use blockchain to maintain secure, transparent records of transactions, ensuring compliance with regulatory reporting standards. Now let's look into the core AI applications in compliance. When you look into the AI applications in compliance specifically, and this is the crux of today's discussion, AI-driven tools, particularly those leveraging the NLP, natural language processing, are instrumental in monitoring changes in laws, changes in regulations and policies. So these tools can analyze vast amounts of regulatory data, detecting relevant updates and summarizing them for compliance teams. Let's take an example. In industries like finance or healthcare for that matter, where regulations evolve frequently, NLP-based systems can provide real-time alerts and actionable insights, enabling continuous compliance. So we talk about tools like IBM Watson, a regulatory compliance that uses this NLP to scan regulatory documents globally, alerting banks to changes that may affect policies on data privacies or lending practices, etc. So by integrating these tools, organizations reduce manual workload and minimize the risk of non-compliance due to regulatory changes. Another significant aspect would be the automated compliance monitoring. You talk about automated compliance monitoring, you see the robotic process automation and ML integration happening, which enhances the compliance monitoring by automating repetitive tasks and tracking adherence to regulatory standards. So you look into banking sector. AI-driven tools continuously monitor the transactions to flag suspicious activities like, let's say, the anti-money laundering compliance. So this automation reduces manual intervention, improving the accuracy and enabling faster responses to potential issues. When you look into the typical fraud detection and risk management, machine learning plays a vital role in fraud detection by analyzing large volumes of transactional data to uncover patterns that suggest fraudulent activity. So AI systems can detect anomalies in credit card transactions. It could have some insider trading patterns or other risky behaviors that human analysts might typically overlook. So banks use this particular machine learning algorithms to flag unusual credit card transactions in real time, helping prevent fraudulent activities before they cause significant financial damage. So insider trading prevention tools also use similar algorithms to spot irregular trading patterns, alerting compliance teams for further investigation. When you look into the typical compliance and AI, data privacy and protection happens to be another significant factor. In response to stringent regulations, AI helps organizations safeguard data privacy by automating data protection tasks. AI can identify, track, and even control access to sensitive data, if you ask me, ensuring compliance with privacy regulations. So AI-driven systems, they also can, monitor for data breaches, issue real-time alerts and actually look into the risks before they actually escalate. So AI-based access control systems assess risk factors like, let's say, unusual login patterns or some of the logins that are happening outside the prescribed region to detect unauthorized access attempts, enhancing the typical data security for that matter. You also have real-time data breach detection tools that can also use machine learning to scan network traffic for signs of potential breaches, significantly improving an organization's response time. So access control, real-time breach detection, automated data protection all happen to be in sync when you talk about the data privacy and protection in general. Now let's look into the AML and financial compliance in detail. When you talk about the anti-money laundering and the financial compliance, please note AI-powered AML solutions, they use the behavioral analysis for improved AML compliance. By analyzing the transactional data specifically, AI can detect suspicious patterns indicative of money laundering, such as structured deposits. It might be a way to do it, or unusual transfers that are happening. So, financial institutions, they leverage platforms like Palantir or FICO AML, which use machine learning to analyze the customer transactions, reducing false positives and allowing compliance teams to focus on high-risk cases. So typically, we see that AI reduces the operational burden on AML teams. It certainly works on improving the detection accuracy, and it certainly strengthens an organization's financial compliance posture. Now let's look into the implementation challenges. We have categorically looked into the different possibilities with respect to compliance. We looked into the financial compliance. We looked into the risk assessment. We looked into all sorts of possible compliance. Let's look into the main aspect, which is the implementation challenges specific to data and ethics. When you look into AI models, for AI models to be effective in compliance, they require large, high quality data sets. However, in many cases, data collected for compliance purposes is fragmented, it is inconsistent, or sometimes it is incomplete also. So, many a time we see that these models can reduce AI model accuracy and reliability. Another significant aspect could be the data availability. Data availability issues can arise when dealing with sensitive information, which may be subject to privacy restrictions typically. Or ensuring that the data is both comprehensive and clean is essential, but often challenging, as it requires organizations to invest in data governance frameworks and data cleansing practices. You see, there are ethical concerns also. We have touched upon ethical concerns with respect to other domains. With respect to compliance, if you ask me, AI-driven compliance tools must operate transparently, fairly, and without being especially critical in regulatory context where any perceived bias could actually lead to legal issues or typically reputational harm. So we see algorithmic transparency should be there. We see that explainability should be there. These things are vital to ensure stakeholders understand how decisions are made, which is particularly important for regulatory bodies. There can be also ethical concerns extend to ensuring that AI doesn't unfairly impact certain groups, and they maintain fairness across all data-driven decisions, which can be a complex task, obviously, when dealing with diverse data inputs and outcomes. Now, let's look into the elephant in the room, which is legal and regulatory barriers. When you look into legal and regulatory barriers, while AI can enhance compliance, its implementation must also comply with data privacy laws. So these regulations, they place strict limitations on data processing, on storage and transfer, impacting how AI systems can access and utilize data. So navigating these regulatory constraints. It requires organizations to design AI tools that are not only effective but also fully compliant with privacy and data protection laws. So, this can limit the scope of AI's application in compliance functions. You look into change management again as a possibility. Implementing AI driven compliance tools often requires significant organizational change. So, resistance from the workforce, whether due to fear of job displacement or discomfort with new technologies, can hinder adoption. So, additionally, compliance teams may need to upskill. They need to learn to work alongside AI tools and interpret AI driven insights. So, effective change management strategies, including the comprehensive training and clear communication, are vital, if you ask me, to ensure a smooth transition and promote AI adoption within the compliance team. So, that is where the importance of upskilling lies in. So, let's look into the cost and resource constraints. Developing and deploying AI tools for compliance can be resource intensive. There is no two opinion with respect to that. It can involve, financial investments. It can also have a large chunk of technical expertise requirements. So, organizations typically need to balance the cost of AI adoption with the expected return on investment in terms of, let's say, compliance efficiency and reduced risk, etc. So, smaller companies in particular may find the cost challenging to justify, and even larger organizations may face the budget constraints. So, a strategic approach to AI investment, if you ask me, prioritizing high impact areas in compliance can help balance cost with tangible compliance benefits. Now, before concluding, let's also have a small discussion on the future trends in AI compliance. We have seen what AI compliance was, what AI compliance is, and we are just trying to predict what would be the future trends in AI compliance. Now, when you look into AI compliance, especially from the futuristic perspective, we see that there is a possibility of enhanced predictive capabilities. Future AI systems are likely to harness more sophisticated predictive analytics, allowing organizations to anticipate regulatory changes by analyzing the global trends, legal updates, and even to a certain extent industry shifts. So, this typical foresight will help organizations, companies to prepare for and adapt to new regulations before they are, formally enacted, minimizing the disruption and strengthening the compliance readiness totally. When you look into the real-time compliance monitoring, please note, real-time monitoring powered by the AI will become essential as companies seek faster responses to potential breaches. So, AI tools with continuous monitoring capabilities will provide instant alerts, allowing compliance teams to address issues as they occur. So, this typical approach reduces risk exposure and strengthens the overall compliance by addressing potential violations immediately rather than in a retroactive manner. So, you look into the real-time monitoring, we see that AI tools will provide instant alerts for potential compliance breaches. You look into integration, we look into emerging tech integration. AI is expected to increasingly integrate with technologies like, let's say, what we have seen already, blockchain, or sometimes Internet of Things, IoT, enhancing the transparency and traceability in the compliance process itself. So, we look into blockchains, immutable record that can verify transactions, while IoT devices in regulated industries, be it healthcare, be it manufacturing, that can provide live compliance data, ensuring that all activities align with legal requirements. So, we look into the future trends in AI, we have to also end this discussion based on the focus on data privacy solutions. Now, with growing data privacy concerns, please note, this is one thing that is holding back the entire discussion with respect to AI in compliance. With growing data privacy concerns, organizations will prioritize AI solutions that support data security while respecting the privacy standards. So, AI-driven privacy tools will enable organizations to balance regulatory compliance with ethical data use, focusing on transparent and secure data processing. So, such AI solutions will manage risk effectively by automating the data protection typically, and all the data protection measures are taken care of and ensuring adherence to global data privacy laws. So please note, when we are looking into the AI, the introduction of AI in HRM, everywhere we can see that AI is being introduced in all different domains. But when it comes to compliance, as I already mentioned in the beginning, it has already established a significant, a name of itself when it comes to compliance. And we have seen this, how it is enabling the day-to-day activities in terms of compliance, because it adds on to a better understanding and it adds on to a timely reciprocation. And this is vital. Many a time when manually organizations were dealing with compliance, there were breaches, there were problems, there were some lack of compliance or non-compliance for that matter. But as we see the introduction of AI into compliance, we see things are happening in a very smooth, deadline-oriented way without any hiccups. And this is the beauty of AI in compliance. Thank you for listening to me patiently. We'll look into more of AI in HRM aspects in the next class. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.